So if you want to know how to make beats from scratch for Lil Durk, this is the perfect video for you. Yo guys, what's up and welcome to another tutorial. And since Lil Durk dropped today, I will show you how to make crazy dark beats for Lil Durk. So first of all, I'm gonna show you all the sample, break it down fully, show you how I mixed it, how I mastered it, and how I made the patterns. And then after that, I will show you how I made a beat to it, so basically break it down as well and explain every single step I did. So yeah, make sure to stay till the end, make sure to leave a like and to subscribe to my channel. Please make sure to check out all my kits in the description. I would really appreciate that. Use code LUCADID15 for 15% discount at checkout. And yeah guys, let's go. So I started off with Contact and I used the grandeur preset, and what I basically just did was turning the knob from soft to hard, but just a little bit. What I did after that was laying down this. It looks complex, but it's a simple pattern. I started off with this. Well, I basically started off with this and then just copied it down and brought the notes into key. So basically like this, and then just did the same thing for the other few bars. And then after this, I just laid down this simple top line, which is repetitive as hell, but you want like a repetitive dark piano. So this was the perfect thing to do for this type of sample. Then what I did was pressing Alt and S just to strum it, as you can see right here, and pressing Alt and R just to randomize the velocities, just to make it basically sound more realistic. And I laid down the bass notes as well from the piano, as you can see, and the finished piano pattern is sounding like this. Then for the effects on this piano, I had this 3 parametric EQ too, where I just cut out some frequencies that I didn't really like. Then this Abbey Road vinyl stereo with these settings, I just turned down the noise, the crackle, and the phase distortion, and I think the rest was on default. Then I had this RC20 with the vinyl 1 preset, but I tweaked it a bit. I turned off the noise, the wobble, and basically just left on the distortion, the magnetic, and the EQ. Then I had this Valhalla vintage verb, where I tweaked the mix, the decay, the low cut, and the pre-delay. Then this simple soothe on its default settings, I just turned the knob from soft to hard and the depth to 1.3, and then just this EQ where I just cut out some of the lows, ducked some of the low mids and some of the highs. Then for the next thing, I used a talk different phrase from a kit that I will drop very soon. If you want to be up to date with all my kits and everything I do, make sure to follow me on Instagram. The link for that is in my description. And what I basically just did, it was an E minor, so I pitched it down by 4 just to bring it into C, and then pitch it up by 12 again, put the mode on stretch and the declicking mode on generic, and the phrase was fitting perfectly into the sample, and it sounds like this. And for the effects, I just had this simple EQ where I just cut out a lot of the lows and low mids and cut out some of the highs, and it didn't really need effects at all because it's already processed, and that's why I added this EQ, just that the other instruments have more space for the other frequencies. Then for the next thing, I went to Splice and used this vocal phrase right here, which y'all can just copy the name, and I pitched it up by 7, then pitched it down by 12. I basically could have pitched it down by 5. Then I had this vocal phrase where I did it, where I pitched it down by 5. Then I had the declicking mode on generic, the mode on stretch, and for the last vocal phrase, I did the same thing, but I changed it up a bit for the last part. I just copied this over and then copied that and pitched it down by 6, just had a sample as more variation, and that's all I did to the vocal phrases. It's pretty simple, and the vocal phrases are sounding like this. Then for the effects on these vocal phrases, I had this for the delay too with these settings. Y'all can just copy them. Then this for the reverb too, where I tweaked the decay, the wet, and the stereo separation knobs. Then this soothe, which I had on the default settings, I just turned the knob from soft to hard. Then this EQ, where I just cut out a lot of the lows and ducked some of the highs, and I had it 12% in stereo. Then for the second part, which y'all didn't hear yet, I have this cello loop, which was just a simple phrase, and it wasn't C sharp minor, so I pitched it down by 1 just to bring it into the key, put the mode on stretch, and I didn't really add anything else or chop it up, and it sounds like this. Then for the effects on this cello loop, I just had this RC20 for the wobble and the EQ. Then this Valhalla vintage verb where I tweaked the mix, the decay and the low cut. Then this soothe again on its default settings, I just turned the knob to 2.0. And then I had this EQ where I just cut out all of the lows and some of the low mids and ducked some of the mids. And I had 27% in stereo. Then for a really important part while making samples is textures and obviously perk loops, but this sample didn't really need a perk loop in my opinion. So I just added this bus stop texture, which is in my upcoming kit. And what I did was basically just dragging it in FL Studio, all my texture loops and most of my phrases are automatically time stretched, so you don't have to do anything. I just lowered the volume by a lot, and then I had this bot vinyl texture, which is basically just some vinyl crackle, where I turned the volume down by a lot as well, and that's basically it. And as these names say, they give the sample so much more texture and make it so much more full without even taking many frequencies. So use accents, textures, perk loops all in your samples and you will hear a big difference. But first of all, the textures are sounding like this. And I didn't really had any effects, just a simple EQ where I cut out a lot of the lows and low mids because the other instruments already had these frequencies covered. Then for the bass line I used the grandeur again, but I had the knob a bit more too hard and basically just copied the piano bass line that I had on the first piano and added it onto this pattern just an octave lower. I randomized the velocities again, which you can do with Alt and R, and the bass line is sounding like this. And for the effects on this bass line, I had this decapitator where I had it on a dark fat preset. Then this soothe, again on its default settings, I just turned it from soft to hard. Then this EQ, I just cut out some of the muddy lows and I had it 100% in mono. Then for my mastering chain, as always, I have this A1 stereo control from Alex Hilton where I have the safe bass option on and the stereo right to 125%. Then this arc compressor, which does nothing for this sample. Then this Abbey Road vinyl where I have my vintage master preset, y'all can just copy the settings. Then the sound shifter from Waves where I pitch it up by 2. This Chroma Tape emulator from Waves as well, where I had the mastering big and open preset on. This L1 limiter just to make the sample louder. Then obviously in Soothe. And this EQ, which does nothing, but it's just on there in case I want to EQ the sample. And that's it for the mastering chain. And the second part of the finished sample is sounding like this. So now for the beat breakdown, obviously I dragged in the sample first and I pitched it down by 1 because I liked how it sounded and it had good root notes for the 808. So I had the mode on stretch, put the declicking mode on generic, and then what I did was laying down the height pattern first. And as you can see, I have a lot of rolls in here because that's pretty typical for Lil Durk type of beats. And I added some low notes as well, some lower rolls as well, some higher rolls as well. And what I did, I had the 4-bar height pattern and I just copied it over because I think it sounded perfect and a bit repetitive isn't really bad for these type of beats. That's all I did for the hi-hats, and the height pattern is sounding like this. Then for the next thing I have this GJX Section 8 clap, which is the 4th clap out of the kit, and I just left it how it was, dragged it in, and I had this repetitive clap pattern, the basic clap pattern I would say. I haven't changed anything for this clap pattern and it sounds like this. Then for the next thing I have this GG and Section 8 snare, and that's just a basic pattern, and I didn't copy it over because in the second part of these 8 bars the 808 pattern got pretty busy, so I just left it in the first 4 or like 2 bars, and the snare pattern is sounding like this. Then for a very important part I have this GGX Section 8 openhat, and it's the 4th one, I don't know why, but they just sound perfect for these type of beats. And as you can see, it follows the 808 pattern a bit. I mean, you can't see the 808 pattern yet, but you will hear it, and it's a pretty simple openhat pattern I would say. It always hits on the 1 and then when the 808 hits, and it sounds like this. And then for the most important part while making this beat is obviously the 808 pattern. And as you can see, it's a pretty simple 808 pattern. It looks complex because it has many notes, but you will hear that it's a very simple 808 pattern. And I just put the velocities up besides on this note because it's a high note and it has many like bad frequencies. But as you can see, it gets pretty busy in the second part. So that's why the snare just hits here and there. And the 808 pattern with the finished beat is sounding like this. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and to subscribe to my channel. Please don't forget to turn on the post notifications as well. It would really mean a lot. And don't forget to check out my kits and my socials. The links for that is in my description. And thank you for the support on the last video. Y'all been going crazy. So as I said, don't forget to like, subscribe, and to turn on the bell. And obviously, thank you for watching till the end. Don't forget to comment something cool or just basic video ideas that I could do in the future. And yeah guys, see y'all.